you so much for joining the Club Solutions podcast. Excited to chat with you today. To kick things off, why don't you introduce yourself to those who may not know you?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Schon, and I have been the brand president of the Bar Method for about 5.5 years now.
Awesome. How did you get into that role? What was kind of your journey to that path?
Sure. So I started more with a specialty in franchising, but in the restaurant space. And Self-Esteem Brands, now Purpose Brands, acquired the Bar Method back in 2019. And started having conversations with me. And I first fell in love with Self-Esteem Brands and kind of the culture, the core values. And then I went and took my first class at the Bar Method. It took me a couple classes, but I fell in love, and now I am an addict. And fitness has always been a part of my life, so it was kind of an easy pullover from the restaurant space, but definitely cut my teeth in franchising more so than fitness, and now I've been loving fitness for the last 5.5 years.
Well, as we're chatting, it is a Women's History Month, and speaking of franchising, the Bar Method is kind of set up to be unique in the fitness industry. 31% of U.S. franchise owners are women, but yet 99% of the Bar Method studios are women-owned. So can you kind of tell me, is that intentional from the start? Did it just naturally occur? What's that journey been like?
Sure. So I won't call it intentional, but I also will suggest it's not surprising given our history. So the Bar Method has historically grown from within our own client base and teacher base. And this is largely because until Self-Esteem Brand stepped in 6 years ago, owners had to be certified teachers and actually had to have an audition as part of their franchisee selection process. So it's also true that 98% of our clients are female, so it's not surprising that, we have such a large female representation when they're coming from our base. I will point out that we've evolved the model in order to support franchisees who are more interested in investing their time outside of the studio room. So you don't need to be a certified instructor anymore. But what has stayed consistent is that we do just attract those who love our workouts and want to invest in other wellness journeys.
Yeah, what do you think it is specifically about the Bar Method that is so attractive to women who want to be entrepreneurs?
So, a couple things. First of all, again, knowing that they come from the method, from our client base. Originally, I actually just got a text right before this from our franchise development leader who said he had just gotten off the phone with somebody. Life-changing were the words that he used to describe her experience of why she'd be interested. But according to research, women entrepreneurs look for a few different things when they're stepping into their own business. The first is flexibility. And the Bar Method does meet that need. You're not tethered to the studio 5 days a week, 8 to 5. Sometimes you have to be there on Saturday mornings, right? But you can step out to support whatever might be needed at home. The second reason is female entrepreneurs are looking for relationships. And boutique fitness and the Bar Method in particular is really all about creating community. So women supporting women in this tight-knit community, it just makes a natural attraction for female entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. A lot of these franchisees that have kind of come into the Bar Method have had corporate backgrounds. But what systems do you have in place that help these first-time operators really succeed in the fitness industry?
Sure. You are right. We do have many women who come from corporate careers prior to opening their Bar Method studio. Again, mentioning that previously that we attract so many from within our own client base. I do want to talk really quickly about the fact that our workout is a really smart workout. It's built on science. We still have a physical therapist on staff. And so we naturally kind of attract those, somebody looking for a smart workout. And so coming from the corporate space, it's again, kind of not surprising. They're also smart to recognize that opening a business on your own, it's daunting. It's hard to be an expert in everything like paid media and search engine optimization and real estate selection and lease negotiation, right? So they recognize that a franchise system provides the support they need to learn how to run their business fueled by a team of subject matter experts, maybe behind the scenes where they don't need to be that expert. So we ask them to bring passion to change lives and a drive to succeed, and we'll help with the rest. So our support starts out on day one. Literally, you sign the franchise agreement, and we kick off with a team of experts, starting in our real estate team that support with the selection and design of the site. We've got an intensive new franchisee training ranging from marketing to operations to the technology side of things. There are learning modules and homework and in-person sessions to build your local marketing plan, as an example. And then the best part is that the training doesn't end when you open. It continues. We provide a designated franchise business consultant for ongoing regular consultations, whether they're bi-weekly or monthly. We have annual conferences or regional meetings where we come together, monthly learning webinars. And one of I think the most powerful things that we offer is this communication platform with other franchisees in the system. So you can constantly learn and grow from others within the system.
I love that. I think one of the best part of our industry is the people. So being able to rely on one another, especially those who understand what you're going through, is a huge added benefit.
For sure. I hear them describe the relationships that they build with one another like a sisterhood.
I love that. Well, Stephanie, you have a franchise background. You obviously are a part of the Bar Method, which is a franchise, and there are plenty of franchise options in this industry. What is, maybe from your experience or what you've witnessed, what's maybe the biggest blind spot you see when it comes to running a franchisee or running a franchise, or for franchisees starting out?
Sure. Where we get the most questions, and I actually do believe they're well-founded, because it is one of the most important things that a franchisee will have to do, is choose a site. So that can be overwhelming, and not, some come in with real estate background, but not all do. And we have partners across the U.S. who really understand kind of the local nuances in these different regions. And we also have a real estate selection tool that helps kind of point you towards what we call our seed points of where there's growth, and it targets the variables that have historically generated strength, get high revenue, versus those that kind of detract from your growth opportunities. So those experts will help you find a site. They'll give you a protected territory so you can be assured that another Bar Method won't open up in so that's usually where we see the most trepidation, kind of people who are anxious about stepping in, and that's why we start there.
What would you say are the biggest KPIs that franchisees, the most important to them, that they should look for in the first 12 months of being open?
Sure. So the first year of a studio's life, the priority is really about stability, and ideally a recurring membership base. So that recurring membership base establishes predictable revenue, but it also provides this community, this core community, so that they can thrive and grow all together. So we have a new client acquisition strategy that we utilize in the first few months, and it drives leads, it drives visitors, and then we have a common conversion process of how we help them step into membership, from trial to membership. Finally, we really watch that attrition to make sure our new owners are providing the right in-studio experience, what's happening in the studio room with their teachers, whatnot. So really that summarizes into we look at first-time visitors as a KPI, conversion rates, and attrition. Those are the three keys, KPIs in the first year.
Awesome. And I know, can you maybe give our listeners, for those who may not be as well adversed, what's kind of the state of the union of the Bar Method? How many locations do you have, and what's kind of your future growth plans?
Sure. So right now in the U.S. we have about 80, in the U.S. and Canada, we have about 80 studios in North America. We expanded a year and a half ago to Japan, and we now have 2 studios open in Japan. Here's the exciting part, is the global boutique fitness studio market is expected to double in size in the next 10 years or so, I think by 2034. And so we've already started fielding a lot of interest in the Bar Method internationally as well. So we still have opportunity here domestically, but look outside our borders and it's just going to burst. Yes.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I do think boutique fitness is kind of having this huge growth moment. What do you think is kind of driving that? Specifically for the bar industry, I feel like bar is kind of booming right now as well. What do you think is driving that interest?
Sure. A couple things. Number one, there is definitely demand right now for low impact, high intensity workouts. So what the appeal is there is it's something that it's a sustainable workout. It's something they can do. And this is exactly why the bar method was founded. We were created by our founder, Burr Leonard, with a team of physical therapists, kinesiologists, so that it could be something you could do 4 or 5 days a week over years. We have 1,000, 2,000 workout member clubs. So that is part, I think, of what's driving it. The second piece is more the who is driving it. It's what we call Gen Active, Millennials and Gen X. We've historically attracted kind of more like the older millennial Gen X, and we're seeing more Gen Zs finding us. And that is about where, if I remember correctly, it's about like 80% of what the fitness demand is being driven by is Gen Z, if I said that right, Gen Z and Millennials. So we're attracting a new type of client right now who's generating the spend.
Yeah, Gen Z and Millennials are definitely driving the push in this industry, that's for sure. Is there anything specifically you're doing to really capture that demographic base?
Sure. Another thing about that demographic is a lot, and I'm speaking very generally here, is we're seeing more variety seekers than we ever used to see before. Certainly, we have our routinists, but there's so many options out there right now, so we're seeing more people seeking variety in their workouts, and that's good. We should have a mix of strength. We should have a mix of cardio. We should have a mix of kind of restorative. And that's one thing intentionally that the bar method has done is we now have 5 class formats, unique class formats that kind of support that wellness journey and that mix of fitness modalities that we need. So, and we've got more in the works as well, which is exciting.
Well, Stephanie, clearly you are a woman in this fitness industry. What advice would you give to other professionals out there considering maybe franchise ownership or executive positions in the fitness space?
Sure. Gosh, rewarding is the key word there of what's rewarding about being in this space. And as an owner, one thing that I think is very kind of hopefully obvious is that you get to see the impact of your work immediately. But let me expand on that because I hear these stories of clients coming into our studios feeling, out of place because either they haven't exercised or they don't know bar. And so our instructors are trained to personalize the workout for you and modify the movements to help you safely build muscle. What a lot of owners don't expect in this reward spectrum is the confidence that it builds in their clients. They expect the muscles, but the confidence is really rewarding. So it kind of helps our owners recognize, and me too, executives in this space, it really is, this business is much more about workouts. It's creating spaces where people feel supported and capable. It's work with work, but treating it as a career and something you're committed to mastering, that's when the magic happens. So I find this work incredibly rewarding.
We are talking today with our staff, just watching the growth over the years of how probably about 20 years ago, it was just like 2% that the women executives were really reaching this industry. So seeing the growth and seeing the franchise ownership growth, it's really been cool to watch. And I really just think we're getting started in this space. So definitely cool to hear how your model is helping succeed that as well.
Yes, and how lucky am I to be a part of something that changes lives, whether it be at the client side or our owner side.
Well, Stephanie, one last question I like to ask all my guests is if there was one thing you'd want people to know about the bar method or you kind of one takeaway from this episode, what would that be?
We have the smartest workout, I think, in the industry that will help build muscles and confidence. It's kind of tying together some of the themes that we've talked about. And I encourage the best part too is people imagine it's not going to be hard. Just it's dance. It must be easy. Our CEO has said, I dare you to go try it. It's incredibly difficult, but again, that's where the reward comes from, is when you can see yourself upping your game with each workout. So please come try us out.
Stephanie, well, those are all my questions. Anything else you want to talk about that maybe we didn't get to touch on?
I am so grateful for the opportunity. I could spend hours talking about the bar method and my love, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Awesome.